In the Seven Kingdoms, songs are sung of kings, of dragons, of great lords and shining banners. But history rarely remembers the men who walked the roads. Not every knight lived in a castle. Not every knight wore polished armor. And not every knight was ever truly knighted. Some slept beneath hedges. Some owned nothing but a horse too old for war. Some carried swords chipped by 100 nameless battles. They were called Hedge Knights. This is not a story of crowns or thrones. This is the story of forgotten warriors. Men without lands, without power, and often without honor in the eyes of the realm. Yet when wars came, when roads ran red with blood, it was these men who stood first. To understand a tale of seven kingdoms, you must first understand the Hedge Knight. Because this era of Westeros was not ruled by dragons. It was shaped by men who walked alone. What is a Hedge Knight? A Hedge Knight was a wandering knight with no fixed lord. No castle, no lands, no household. They traveled from village to village, from holdfast to holdfast, offering their sword in exchange for food, coin, or shelter. The name Hedge Knight came from how they lived, sleeping beneath hedges in barns or beneath the open sky. Some were once sworn knights who had lost their lord. Some were former squires who never received proper knighthood. And some were liars, men who claimed the title without ever earning it. In Westeros, the title of knight carried power, and power attracted deception. In theory, a knight was supposed to live by vows, to defend the weak, to protect women and children, to serve the seven with honor. But the truth of Westeros was far darker. Many knights were cruel. Many abused their power. Many used their sword not for justice, but for fear. Meanwhile, many Hedge Knights, poor, nameless, mocked, lived closer to true honor than those born into it. Westeros valued banners over behavior, birth over bravery, appearance over action, and so Hedge Knights were looked down upon. The life of a Hedge Knight was brutal. They faced hunger more often than battle, cold more often than glory, and rejection more often than praise. Lords mistrusted them, small folk feared them, other knights mocked them. A Hedge Knight could be turned away from a castle simply for looking poor. Some took work guarding caravans. Some fought in tourneys hoping for coin. Some served cruel lords just to survive, and some became monsters, because the road did not reward kindness. Romantic stories often paint Hedge Knights as noble wanderers, but reality was harsher. Many Hedge Knights were violent. Some were thieves, some were killers. With no lord to answer to, and no law to restrain them, a Hedge Knight could become a roaming threat. This is why lords feared them, and why the realm mistrusted them. A Hedge Knight was freedom without protection, honor without witnesses. When war came, Hedge Knights were everywhere. They filled the ranks of armies. They fought for coin, survival, or belief. Yet they were the first to be forgotten. When battles were won, credit went to lords. When battles were lost, blame fell on nameless men. Hedge Knights died in thousands, and history recorded none of their names. By the time of A Tale of Seven Kingdoms, dragons were gone. And without dragons, power changed. Kings were weaker, lords were bolder, knights mattered more. This was an age where steel decided fate, and Hedge Knights became more dangerous than ever. The Blackfire rebellions left deep scars on Westeros. Civil war shattered trust. Brother fought brother, knights chose sides, and paid the price. After the rebellions, Hedge Knights flooded the roads. Dispossessed warriors, broken men, survivors of lost causes. The realm never truly healed. Among these wandering knights was an old man named Ser Arlen of Pennytree, poor, forgotten, but honorable. He took in an orphan boy from Flea Bottom, a boy who would change history. His name was Duncan, later remembered as Ser Duncan the Tall. He was not born noble, he was not raised in a castle, and he may never have been properly knighted. Yet Dunk lived by the vows more than most knights ever did. He defended the helpless. He stood against cruelty. He chose honor even when it cost him everything. Dunk was huge, awkward, and often confused. But when it mattered, he stood tall. Traveling with Dunk was a boy called Egg, a bald-headed squire, sharp-tongued, stubborn. Egg was no ordinary boy. He would one day become King Aegon V Targaryen. Through Dunk's eyes, Egg learned humility. Through Egg's presence, Dunk unknowingly shaped the future of the realm. This was Westeros at its most human. No dragons, no prophecy, just choices. Hedge Knights were the soul of Westeros. They showed that honor was not inherited. That knighthood was not granted by birth. That morality could survive without power. They were flawed, they were dangerous, they were real, and without them, Westeros would be nothing but crowns and lies. History remembers kings, but the road remembers everyone. It remembers the men who slept beneath the stars, the men who fought without banners, the men who chose honor when no one was watching. They were called Hedge Knights, and in an age without dragons, they carried the weight of the 7 kingdoms on their backs. This was their story, and this was Epic World Explained.